Hello everyone. It is another moment that we are glad to connect in class for this lecture. Our lecture for this moment is BED 3225, Social Welfare Administration. Social Welfare Administration. I am Wanjiru Nguni from Mount Kenya University. First things first. We have covered some areas, and it's good for us to be able to check the areas that we've been able to cover so far. At the onset of our start of this unit, we were able to look at the definition of key terms. We looked at what is administration, what is social, what is welfare. We combined the two or the three, and we were able to see what those terms mean. And of course, we bias them towards this unit. We were able to look at the perspectives or views in administration, because this is social welfare administration. We were able to look at the historical development of social welfare as a social institution. Next, we looked at the characteristics of social welfare administration, the functions and scope of social welfare administration, activities for social welfare administration, and personality requirements of a social welfare executive. Other areas covered is social casework, or as basic methods of social work, social casework, social group work, community organizing, and social actions. We looked at this in the context of basic methods of social work as approaches, as the way we are able to actually carry out our work. So the four of them, casework, group work, and community organization and social action, are part of what we would call basic methods of social work. We get to our lecture. Our lecture number 5 is based on the main theme of social work theories. Our focus for this particular lecture are twofold. 1, social work theories and their application to social work. 2, we'll also look at social work models. So the twofold areas is what our focus lecture number, our lecture number 5 is going to focus on. Right, social work theories, we have enough of them. By the time we get to the tail end of these theories, you'll have appreciated many theories that try to explain the whole entire field of social work. We start with theory number 1. And again, get to the lecture notes that are posted in your e-learning. You'll be able to find the details of everything that we are teaching in this forum. So theory number 1, we have conflict theory. Conflict theory holds that all societies are inherently unequal, and that power disparities have a direct impact on people's lives. So something inherent is something that really you cannot avoid. You just find it there. I mean, naturally flows, it naturally occurs. Okay, there are inequalities. People can look at the resources that they have. People can look at the power that they have. People can look at different segments, different areas that can actually determine people's inequalities. So what happens when these inequalities are there? People will always conflict. I want to ask you, in your own free time, you can look at the onset of sociology. What triggered the entire discipline of sociology is because there were 2 revolutions, the French Revolution and there was the Industrial Revolution, and that is where Auguste Comte, the father of sociology, actually came out and said, hey, this is something that has not been seen in the world. The kind of havoc that we are seeing in the society, we haven't seen it. Why? Because there was conflict between the haves and the have-nots. The people who are very few, holding power, holding money, suppressing the majority of the people. The tables were overturning and things were not happening right in the society. So what was happening? It was conflict theory at play. Number 2, developmental theory. Developmental theory generally refers to a collection of ideas about how societies can advance towards positive change. Whenever you see a theory, just look at the key word. If, for example, our number 2 here is development, think of development. What is development? Advancing, all right? Doing things better than you were doing them yesterday, being in a better state, okay? Having power you didn't have yesterday. So development theory also helps us in our social work as we try to tell people you have an opportunity for change. 3, family life cycle theory. This one focuses on the series of changes that commonly occur in individual and family dynamics and how these changes function as a series of developments over the lifespan. Then we have number 4, grounded theory. Grounded theory operates from the presumption that any theoretical model must be grounded in data and analysis. In other words, it is just shy of saying that grounded theory must be scientifically objective, where there are logical conclusions, where there are clear hypotheses. And after that, data, when it is collected and analyzed, then you can actually say, yes, we are grounded. This is our kind of analysis. These are our findings, research findings, and therefore you can actually run with that theory. There are cases where in society you may have to do a very, very objective research study to be able to apply some of the, or to assess the way the community behaves or even their belief system. We continue with the theories. We have the humanistic theory. Humanistic theory begins from the perspective that all human beings are in a state of constant becoming, that each of us is always striving towards self-actualization through an emphasis on personal strength and greater mindfulness. That is humanistic theory, that we shall become. We may not be today, but tomorrow we will get there. We may not be there yet, but we will get there anyway, okay? And it is striving towards self-actualization, okay? I want to ask you again to be reminded of Maslow's hierarchy of theory. At the top of the apex is self-actualization, where at the very base of the triangle is very basic needs like food, shelter, and clothing. Psychodynamic theory, we have it there. Psychodynamic perspective is typically attributed to the psychoanalytic ideas of Sigmund Freud, and holds that human thoughts and behavior are influenced by a combination of conscious and unconscious psychological processes. Again, Freud had his own way. He had his own examples. I don't know why he chose those examples, but he has a way of bringing in the link between consciousness and unconscious psychological processes. All right? Again, get into the details and you'll be able to understand from the psychological perspective, there is dynamism. That is why we are bringing in the word dynamic there. So, combining the two, psychodynamic theory. Freud believed that many of our unconscious processes, especially those manifesting as dysfunction, can be attributed to childhood experiences and trauma. Okay? I don't need to get into a number of details. I'm sure if you are in my social psychology class, you are able to appreciate that some of the things that children go through in their childhood, they have the ability to affect them in their adulthood. We continue with the theory, psychosocial development theory. This theory proceeds from the view that our development is influenced by both internal psychological factors, and external factors from the surrounding environment. Then we have the rational choice theory. Rational choice theory provides a framework for understanding both human behavior and the behavior of economic systems. So just see the two. Human beings are given ability to develop, okay, to come up with economies or to set up economic systems. Now, it helps us, rational choice theory helps us understand both behavior and the behavior of both human behavior and the behavior of economic systems. You've had in business terms, this happened some years back. You would hear this system, this statement, let's say maybe in the early 90s, that when the West coughs, Africa catches the cold. All right? What did that mean? That if there are kind of economic shocks in the developed nations, then we in the developing nations, we will always catch the cold. Well, maybe, yeah, that can happen, and not with COVID, definitely. All right. So this theory proposes that social behavior is a consequence of behaviors by individual actors making personal choices. Right. Social constructionist theory, I promised you we have enough of the theories. So that's another theory. Kindly interact with the details. But social constructionist theory advances and departs from the grounded theory, which holds that reality is observable only through systematic and methodological gathering of data. By contrast, this theoretical model holds that reality is constructed through both objective and subjective lenses. I think it's good to know that sociology is an area that has been challenged by people who would think that any research we carry is not objective enough. And they would tell us or challenge and say that sociology is not a science. And this is where they base it. They base it by saying that you will not take a human being to the lab, dissect them and see how they are thinking, and then patch up again, and then the person starts walking. We are not going to do that. Definitely it will not be ethical. But we have a way, as social scientists, we have a way of coming with objective data, objective information to actually say this is how people behave. And when we are talking about social constructionist theory, we are saying as a society, we are actually able to have our social constructs. We are able to come up with things that can pass the test of time. All right? The food that we use, the clothing that each person wears, or our culture we wear, it's us who said, okay, you need to do this way and not the other way. That's a social construct. The roles of men and women, the difference, it is just a social construct. So we are actually able to look at both objectively and subjective lenses as far as this theory is concerned. Finally, social learning theory. I hope it is finally social learning theory. Albert Bandura postulated that we learn and acquire new behaviors by observing others. According to Bandura, social learning theory, we learn in social contexts. When we meet with people, we are learning. We interact with them, we are learning. So there goes the social learning theory. Okay, systems theory, there it is. Interact again with your notes. And then we have the transpersonal theory. There we are again. Systems theory concerns the interdependency of various systems, both natural and human-made. In society, we have structures. In society, we have systems. Who has put these systems in place? It is the society, all right? we have structures that we ourselves have put, and we are saying in that system theory there is some kind of independence or interdependency of those naturally made systems and structures and those that are human-made. Then transpersonal theory merges the field of psychology with the spiritual and transcendent aspects of human experience, emphasizing the goal of reaching a level of consciousness that goes beyond personal identity and self. You will not take a higher being out of people's mind. That is why people will go to the mosque. That's why they will go to the shrines. That's why they will go to church. Why? Because they consider that there is a higher power, there is a higher deity, there is someone who is out of this world, that takes control of the systems of this world, and that person needs to be consulted, whatever they call it, whatever they call God. All right? So there is no way you can separate the two. So there is the transpersonal theory, merging psychology, the field of psychology, with the spiritual and transcendent aspects of human experience. We are done with the theories. Now it's time for us to get to the models. And we have a few of them there. So we look at the cognitive behavioral therapy model. We look at the crisis intervention model. We look at the narrative therapy model. We look at the solution-focused therapy, and then the task-centered practice model. So come with me. We are not going to be long in this. Yes. So there we are. Number one, cognitive behavioral therapy. This offers social workers a framework for helping individuals address issues in their own behavior that may be impacting personal, social, and professional outcomes. That is cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy. All right? So there it is, cognitive, things to do with the mind. Number two, crisis intervention model. The crisis intervention model offers a framework for social workers helping clients manage crisis. This is a model which is commonly used to support clients experiencing thoughts of feeling of suicide. Crisis intervention model. Number three, narrative therapy. Narrative therapy is an interdisciplinary treatment model designed to help reframe the problematic narratives we tell ourselves by using a process called externalization. Okay. Number two, someone is in crisis, so you want to do some intervention as far as this model is concerned. Number three, narrative therapy. Let me tell you, there are people in society who, when they have a lot or they have stress, and I think I know them, they are called women. They don't care whether the person seated in the next chair, in the next matatu chair, is a stranger. If they are stressed, they will actually narrate their story. What are they doing? They are actually using this as therapeutic. The other thing they do, I didn't put it here as a model because I don't think it has passed the test of being a model, is tears. And I tell young men, they can borrow from women when they cry. They don't just cry, it's therapeutic. So let's get back to the narrative. You are narrating your story. You're saying this is how it was. It becomes therapeutic. So if you have a problem, by the time you're actually getting out there, you've told it all. Okay? And they say a problem shared is halfway solved. All right? So that is the narrative. You narrate your story, then it becomes therapeutic. Another model is solution-focused therapy. You get a client and you want to tell them, okay, what do you think the solution is? Yes, there is this problem. What do you think the solution is? This is another model, which is a collaborative process between the social worker and the client. Solution-focused therapy emphasizes each client's strength and helps the clients find ways of using these strengths to confront the problem. Remember, it is not just you as a social worker. You're bringing the client on board and you're kind of having a discussion and saying, what do you think the solution would be for this? And by the time you get to find the solution, the person is actually feeling better than they were when you started engaging. Number 5, task-centered practice model. Task-centered practice model. This is also known as brief therapy. Task-centered practice is a practical strategy of treatment which recognizes the various time-based imperatives surrounding social work. Clients often require strategies that can help bring them immediate progress in navigating the challenges. Again, here there is a task. What do you do with a client? You are actually able to look at that task you have and bring in practical strategies to be able to help the client who is having some challenges, getting to know how to progress in navigating that challenge. We are done with that lecture of the theories and the models. We get to lecture number 5. Just want to look at some public policy. I want you in your own word, in your own time, look at the social policy aspect of it, because I am not going to bring it here, but it is very, very important that you acquaint yourself with what policies are, and especially looking at the social policy we have in Kenya. We have one in place under the social protection intervention. All right, so look out for the social policy. For now, this lecture focuses on the definitions. What is the public policy? Number 2, the types of public policy, description of public policy, and public policy development. If we have more, it will be a plus. Definition. A policy can be considered as a statement of intent or commitment, and it guides actions towards those that are most likely to achieve a desired goal or objective. All right. Next, public policy is a political process. It's good for us to get to know that. The public policy is a political process that involves allocation of resources. Next, public policy is a plan of action agreed to by a group of people with the power to carry it out and enforce it. So, it is a statement of intent. 2, it is a political process. Why? There are resources involved, and it calls for resource allocation or reallocation. Next, it calls for a plan of action. A policy that is just gathering dust was not worthy the effort of writing it. All policies must be live for them to benefit the populace or the purpose to which they were drawn. Right. Let's look at the types of public policy. We have 1, vertical policy. What is it? Vertical policy is developed within a single organizational structure, and generally starts with broad overarching policy, sometimes called corporate or framework policy, made at the head office and guide subsequent decisions throughout the organization. Vertical policy is developed within an organization that has authority and resources for implementation. That is vertical policy. The next is horizontal policy. Types of policies: vertical, horizontal. Horizontal policy. Horizontal policy is developed between parts of an organization or among organizations' components that are in similar hierarchical position. Horizontal policy issues do not fit within the jurisdiction of departments and are sometimes referred to as cross-cutting issues. Gender is one of them. Age can be one of them. Race can be one of those cross-cutting issues. A religion or beliefs can be one of those cross-cutting issues that we are talking about here. Horizontal policy issues are challenging than vertical policy issues. I just put this there so that we know that because of their horizontal nature and including quite a number of cross-cutting issues, they become a bit complex and challenging even when it comes to the implementation. Horizontal policy can itself be divided into three categories. 1, sectoral policy. Policy developed within the sector. 2, multi-sectoral policy. When we are talking about multi, we are talking about more than one. So it involves more than one sector. 3, integrated policy, when the groups developing the policy are able to determine a shared superordinate goal and to work collaboratively to achieve policy that addresses root causes as well as symptoms. Let us describe what a good public policy is. Description number 1, A, must be socially acceptable. Citizens and interest groups feel that their policy reflects their important values if it is socially acceptable. It needs to be fair, it needs to be equity, there needs to be fairness, there needs to be equity, there needs to be consistency and justice. So, as a society, is this public policy document supposed to be implemented in our area? Is it acceptable? Do we accept it? Is it socially acceptable? Then it will be good. Number 3, politically viable. If the policy is not politically viable, then it will not see the light of day. So, a politically viable policy has sufficient scope, depth, and consensus support that elected officials are comfortable with the decisions there. Number 3, it is technically correct. The policy meets any scientific or technical criteria that has been established to guide or support the decision. So, again, a good public policy must be 1, socially accepted. 2, politically correct. 3, it must be technically correct. All right. Let's continue. What do we do when we engage in the development of a public policy? What is the process involved? I will take you through that. Again, these are just main titles. You will get the details in the lecture notes. We start with 1, problem definition. Why are we coming up with this public policy? Why are we writing it? What is the problem? So until we define the problem, we may not actually come up with a technically correct policy. Number 2, there is a value and goal clarification. All right, we need to clarify our goal. Number 3, there is the option generation. There could be alternatives. All right, yes, we could be writing that this is the cause, or this is the problem, or this is the solution, but there could be other alternatives. So what is this? What are we? What is our option? What is our alternative? What are the options that we have? What are the priorities that we have? Then we have the selection. We are able to select among all those options. We are able to select, and after we select, then there is the implementation. And when we carry out activities, then we are actually able to do the evaluation. So 6 of them: problem definition, value and goal clarification, option generation, selection, implementation, and evaluation. There we have it, the process of policy development. Important factors to consider in public policy development. 1, it's public interest. What I'm saying here, a number of factors and considerations must be kept in mind during policy development, and one of them, public interest. Number 2, effectiveness. Number 3, efficiency. All right, what are those 3? Public interest. What is in the best interest of society as a whole, for us as a society? That needs to be answered. 2, how well a policy achieves its goals, its effectiveness. And efficiency, how well are resources utilized in achieving goals and implementing the policies. I take us through the next 3. Consistency. This is the degree of alignment with the broader goals and strategies of government, with constitutional, legislative, and regulatory regime. Fairness and equity, degree to which the policy increases equity of all members and sectors of the society. This may link directly to considerations of public interest. Number 6, reflective. Does the policy reflect such values of the society and or the community as freedom, security, diversity, communality, choice, and privacy? If the answer to this question is yes, then that is a very good policy that we are going to have, because nobody will shoot it down. That is the end of our lesson. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that you have been able to watch this. Thank you, and God bless you. Stay safe.
These televised lectures supplement our robust online learning going on our MKU online platform. You can view more on our televised lectures via our online platform. We are in a digital era, and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. 2,000 shillings is the charge for a postgraduate. You can also deposit in the bank accounts provided on the website. Then email all the above to apply@mku.ac.ke.